Welcome back to another season of Fantasy Football. Today we're going to be going over who's in what division, who everybody is, and just get to know each other a little bit better. Let's start with the East. First up, we have Sean, seen here wondering what 5 minutes of quiet time actually looks like in his life these days. Now, Sean is actually one of the powerhouse teams. He hasn't won anything in the past 5 years. However, he's always that person you gotta look out for because he always, for some reason, has Aaron Rodgers on his team. Next up, we have William, seen here wondering what is wrong with his son-in-law. Now, when William first hit the scene, he was a very scary contender to deal with. He had quite a powerful house of a team. He barely lost any of his games. He didn't win the championship, but he was one person you really didn't want to have to face each week. Since then, he's kind of middled out, and he's an okay person. I still wouldn't take him lightly, but he's not as big of a threat as other competitors. Next up, we have Kelly, seen here saying, "Justin, I swear to God, if you don't clean out that fucking garage, I'm going to fucking cut you." Kelly is always someone to be concerned about. Now, she hasn't won a championship in the past 5 years. However, she has made it to the playoffs every season these past 5 years. So she's definitely not someone to be taken lightly. Next up, we have Caitlyn, seen here just being a wonderfully kind and bubbly person. Seriously, I don't know what she's doing hanging around with a bunch of weirdos like us. Now, Caitlyn is not always the strongest performer. However, she can surprise you. She's beaten several people in surprise matchups around the league, so I wouldn't count her out if you have to face her on a weekly basis. And lastly, rounding up the East, we have David, or as some people call him, Normal David, seen here saying, "Don't worry, he only likes to watch." Now, in the past 5 years, David has actually won the championship twice. He beat Kyle both times, and I think we have footage of that matchup. Splendid. Now, David, since then, has been a lukewarm team. The 2 years after he won the championship, he did not make it to the playoffs, and last year he finished in the Final Four, losing to his sister, Alexa. Now let's start with the West. Starting out in the West, we have Chris here, who is a friend of Normal David's from work, seen here asking, "Do you even lift, bruh?" Now, Chris is a newcomer to our league, so we have no stats of him. However, the man does play fantasy football every year in other leagues and is a well-rounded sports fanatic. Next up, we have Uncle David, seen here pissed off that Kyle is having a good day. Now, Uncle David is, how do I say this nicely, he's not someone you really need to worry about. He always drafts players from the same team, and he doesn't score a lot of points. He'll win a game, or a couple, but he's not someone you ever have to worry about seeing in the playoffs. Next up, we have Alexa, brother to Normal David, seen here really pissed off that she can't tell her fiance she's a teacher because he already knows. Now, Alexa is a tricky player to pin down. Sometimes she's a very easy win. Sometimes she's gonna beat the snot out of you. Her usual draft strategy of drafting Patrick Mahomes did not work this year because I guess Kyle beat her to it. So it's hard to say where she's going to be, but last season she did finish second, losing to Kyle in the championship. Next up, we have Justin, seen here wondering why everybody's making fun of him for going bald. Now, Justin, in the past 5 years, has won 2 championships, once again, beating Kyle for them. Again, I think we have footage of that. Spectacular. Now, Justin is another one of those tricky competitors, much like Alexa. Sometimes he's a very easy matchup, but a lot of times he's also going to beat the ever-living snot out of you, and sometimes he's just going to inch out a win. So whenever you're facing Justin, you got to keep your eyes on that man because you just don't know if he's going to beat you or not. Last but not least, rounding out the West, we have Kyle, seen here wondering if his waiter knows that he's his fantasy football champion or if he's just constipated. It's really hard to tell. He doesn't have much emotion. Kyle has been in all 5 of the past 5 years' championship games, winning only 1 of them. Now, Kyle is always someone who will make it to the playoffs. He does his research, he plays the game very seriously. So Kyle is a threat to anyone who faces him every week, especially if he makes it to the playoffs. But you can always count on him to finish second. Now that rounds up our introductions. Now going forward on a weekly basis, I will be doing weekly wrap-ups to tell you who won, who lost, and what they have to look forward to in the next week. I also want to put a note out there that I have offered our services to Kyle, so that way he no longer has to do those terrible work truck videos that he did last year.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kyle. Week 1. Woo! I am always, of course, in my work truck because I can't stand to take 5 minutes to do any kind of proper fucking setup. How's my nose look, guys? How's my nose look? Does my nose look weird? My nose look weird? Anyway, yeah. So, running backs, you guys need them.
That's it for our introductions. So, everybody get ready. We've got 17 weeks of football ahead of us, and to everyone except for Kyle, I wish you all the best of luck.